So I'm going to be real with you. I think Mike McDaniel has finally learned. Hearing a lot where they say that Chris Grier doesn't get first round offensive linemen. So to put this to rest, Austin Jackson was a first rounder, and I'm pretty sure Chris Grier was in the time of when we drafted Laramie Tunsil, where he drafted him at, I think it was like 10 or like top 10. So Chris Grier does draft offensive linemen. I don't know, it's like whoever you guys are that are watching this channel, a lot of fans end up trying to make their own narratives just based upon what they hear from another person. But so that specific year we're talking about, he's drafted Liam Eichenberg in the second round, Robert Hunt in the second round, Austin Jackson in the first round, Laramie Tunsil in the first round. And if you really look at all three of them, only one of them didn't pan out to be anything, which was Liam Eichenberg, obviously. So Chris Grier does draft him in the first and second rounds. And what we're going to see in this press conference is that they keep saying the same thing, that they are going to address the offensive line. So if you watch my last video of the mock draft, I kind of have a thing that I don't necessarily think is going to happen, but could be a possibility where they maybe even draft first and second round talent of offensive line. So basically what we're going to start off with is that the first takeaway is that we don't know what Teron Armstead is going to be doing. It seems like he's bouncing in between retirement and staying with the Dolphins, but he just took a massive pay cut in order to stay with the Dolphins. It's going to clear up like $14 million in cap space, which is crazy. And what I think the looming decision is who they bring in free agency. Because I think Teron Armstead has a lot of turmoil when it comes to having that left guard position being crap, and he just has to step up even more than he should be at the age that he's at because they're always crap. So I think that is kind of depending on what they pick up in free agency and who they're targeting in the combine. So one of the things that Mike McDaniel says, there's going to be a lot of ums, but we'll read it. I prioritize people that are adept at passing, so my first young, old, I think all things are on the table, and there's some guys that were pretty interested in free agency, and there's guys in the draft. So I think both avenues afford us an opportunity to improve the room at that position, which I think is pretty obvious, is on everybody's tip of the tongue that needs to be a focus of ours. Then it is, it's weird that those weird situations in those, I know I have a close relationship with Anthony Weaver. So what he's talking about there, don't disregard the last part that I just said with Anthony Weaver. They are clearly going to address the offensive line. They have said it probably 15 times since this offseason started. So we are going to get an offensive lineman. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be in the first round. I highly, like a lot of people in the mock drafts have Malachi Starks. Highly doubt that we get a Malachi Starks because there are good safeties in the second and third rounds that you can get. You don't need to spend your first round pick on a Malachi Starks. That would kind of be the prototypical thing that we've been doing the past couple years where, yes, we do need safety, but with the defensive line that we're going to come into this year with the pass rushers, you need to just fill the safety spot. We were able to play a good enough defense with Anthony Weaver with just, mediocre safety. So I don't think spending a first-round pick is going to be the pick right there. They are clearly saying, and this is going to be pretty much the biggest take from all of this, is that we're going to address the offensive line. They're going to address it in free agency and in the draft, which means that we're probably going to walk away in this offseason with maybe 4 or 5 new offensive linemen coming from this draft and free agency, because we have, I think, 10 picks in the draft. And with clearing up $14 million, we're going to see what Bradley Chubb wants to do. Personally, I don't want to get rid of Bradley Chubb because you gave up a first rounder for him. So it would just kind of be such a waste to give up a first rounder for someone who only played a year. So me personally, I think you keep Bradley Chubb because when you have him on the field, when you look back, which, like I said, a lot of people to clear up cap space, I totally get that. A lot of people forget what Bradley Chubb was doing towards that year when he got injured. Towards the end of that year, he was basically leading our team in sacks and kind of the only pass rusher on our team. So it's a tough situation to get cap space, but I don't think that you can cut someone of that talent, because when we got Bradley Chubb as well, he was basically, it was like Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and Bradley Chubb. Those were like the top names of pass rushers. I don't think you could just cut someone like that, because coming into this year, if you have Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, Zach Sealer, and then whoever you add in the draft, this defensive line and this pass rush becomes from obsolete this last year to basically one of the top strengths of this team. So there's that. But like I said, cleared up $14 million in cap space. This is the thing. I think we are going to focus on getting strong offensive linemen. Mike McDaniel knows how to get offensive linemen. He was on San Francisco, and they literally always get top-tier offensive linemen, so he knows what to do. And like I said, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this, but then we'll move on to the next thing, is you have to understand that. What do you have to understand? Everybody, when they get backed into a corner, sometimes they realize their ineptness. This last year, they thought they were going to have players. They thought they could have this confidence looming with this offensive line of building it up. They saw that did not work. And they understand that the priority of this season is not just really drafting offensive line. It's making sure Tua stays on the field. Because if Tua, it's already a prerequisite since Tua's been in the league. If Tua stays on the field, we're winning probably 10 games this year. That's just the way that it's going to go. It has always gone that way. When Tua is on the field, we win the games we need to win, which means you get to the playoffs, which means you keep your job. So the priority of this offseason is keeping Tua on the field, not having another offensive line that Tua has to get the ball out quick. The key to this season is keeping Tua on the field. That's kind of what we're going for in this offseason, is you don't want a backup quarterback on the field. If Tua's in the game, we are going to win the games we need to win, which means it's going to be probably 8 or 9 of them, and then we'll maybe win one of the 2 or one of the next 5 or 6 tough games. But we have to understand, going back to Mike McDaniel, in his earlier years when he was in San Francisco, every single team that he's been on with the Falcons and with San Fran, all of these teams, even the Redskins, they all developed talent at the offensive line. They all built offensive linemen, and they all were good at drafting offensive linemen. So he knows what he's doing there. He just didn't do it because of maybe confidence or whatever it was with his philosophy and scheme. And that was the reason why teams didn't need to play us the way that they did before, because the offensive line, they knew we couldn't run. And they also knew that Tua didn't have enough time to get the ball down the field. And, he can't just sling it like Patrick Mahomes. He has to be like fully set. So, the biggest takeaway, again, from this is that we are going to work on the key positions. I think they learned that not just from this year, but from the Philadelphia Eagles and what they've done as a organization, where they continually draft players at the offensive line. So the key to this press conference, what I'm seeing right now, we're going to get another running back in the draft. But the key to this is that they continue telling you that they're going to get offensive linemen. So I think whenever somebody's telling me that they're not going to do it in the first round, they've said it like 15 times since the offseason started. They continually say that they're going to address the offensive line. And there's plenty of them in this draft. That's the beauty of this friggin' draft, is that there's a lot of them. There's a lot of offensive linemen that are very talented that can come in and probably start immediately. Some in the first round, some in the second round. They have a lot of talent. It's very, very filled in this draft. So, again, I understand some people want to address the defensive line. I think you just need a couple space fillers there. You're going to probably extend Zach Sealer for another contract, because he's probably not going to play for $8 million a year getting like 9 sacks again when Christian Wilkins getting $100 million. So they'll probably extend him. But like I said, they're going to address it. They're probably going to get somebody in the first round and maybe even in the second. And they're probably going to get 3 of them in free agency. The key to this year is Tua stays on the field. That's the key to this year. They've taken a risk too many times, and they've seen 2 of the seasons with these crappy offensive line, Tua's gone down, and the season has derailed. So, again, this last season went the exact same way as the first time that when Tua went down with the concussions. They have seen when Tua goes down, the season is derailed. You have to keep Tua on the field, and they're noticing that. This is their jobs. This year is You either get hired or fired as a head coach. This is the year that not only, depending on how this year goes, do they get to keep their job, but if they do get fired, get another opportunity to get the same job that they had. So this whole thing is riding around the same pinnacle factor. Giving Tua time, keeping him on the field. I don't think they get rid of Tyreek Hill. I don't think any of that happens. The key to this is giving Tua time, keeping him on the field. Because if that happens, we will go to the playoffs again. We will have a successful year. Maybe we won't go to the Super Bowl, but we will have a successful year. And I'm going to be real with you. If they get the amount of offensive linemen that I think they're going to get, and they develop this into a very solid, stout position, I think people are underselling what this team can really do with an offensive line that is standout, because Teron Armstead, I truly believe he's going to come back. I don't think he's going to retire. I think he will definitely try, like if we get offensive linemen in free agency, he will try and come back and play for this team. So what I think is if you make this offensive line the strength this year, I think people are going to be surprised what we can do. And I think people are going to be surprised about how bad that this offensive line for Tua has been for years and what this team can be capable of if he just has time to throw the ball. So that's my takeaway from this. The press conference, he kind of said he didn't stutter as much either. He wasn't really stuttering like he normally was. A little off-season relaxation. But yeah, I think that's the key takeaway from this is they're going to address that. They're going to do it. They're going to bring in a lot of players. And like I said, I'm excited to see what can happen with this team when you have an offensive line. But comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm complete garbage and they're not going to get any offensive linemen, they're just going to make Tua have 1 second to throw again, and they're just going to screw this all up. Let me know down in the comments. I love hearing those comments. Those comments are awesome. Just telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that they know how to draft players or whatever way better than Chris Grier and everybody. So love hearing those comments down in the comment section. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Love you all. Fins up, baby. Peace.